So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to Modern Sex Therapy Institute's informational session. We know that oftentimes there are a lot of questions, and AASECT, let's be honest, amazing, but their certification and requirements can be super confusing. So we'll go ahead and just first introduce ourselves, and then we'll tell you a little bit about the program, and then we'll go over some of the requirements so that you know what to expect. So my name is Dr. Rachel Needle. I'm a licensed psychologist and a certified sex therapist, and I'm co-director of Modern Sex Therapy Institutes. So I am, we very much work as a team, the three of us. You'll meet the other two in a minute, but I'm the one that handles a lot of the administrative stuff and is behind the scenes a lot. So if you send emails and if you want answers to questions about process or anything at all, I'd be the one that you should contact. And so I'm the one that receives the email from the website, etc. So if we're interacting, it's likely going to be with me, but Ricky and Joe are also always available. So I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
So I am the Modern Sex Therapy Institute for the last few years, and I started and created the LGBTQIA certification program and sex and couples therapy program, that certification program that you'll see. I'm excited to be included with Ricky and Rachel, and I'm just very excited to be a part of helping other professionals grow and become certified sex therapists. I just think it was really great for me, and I'm glad to be a part of this for all of you.
I'm Ricky Siegel, also a certified sex therapist and supervisor, a licensed mental health counselor in sunny South Florida. And it's just the most incredible pleasure and thrill of my life to be associated with these two wonderful people and to be part of Modern Sex Therapy Institutes. I trained under the late Dr. Susan Lee, who trained with the late Helen Singer Kaplan in New York in the 80s, where sex therapy kind of took Masters and Johnson's and brought it much more into the therapist realm and reminded them they forgot about desire. So it's just really been wonderful to bring that model into the 21st century and hopefully live up to our name as Modern Sex Therapy Institutes. Yeah. We're grateful for all of you joining us today.
We've been around for doing continuing education for over 25 years between us. And Modern Sex Therapy Institutes was formed as a combination of what Ricky's institute that he had going and the institute that I had going, and we decided to merge. And then, as Joe said, we were very lucky to have him join us, about 2 years ago. So we have been doing continuing education, and we are approved by AASECT, APA, and NBCC. We do all of our workshops live in 8 states, except now during COVID, but we will go back to that eventually. We are always live via webinar. So we actually have been using Zoom for, over, I think, 6 years now. So we were very familiar with it because we've always done our stuff also live via webinar, because it was very important to us to make sure that we had flexible programming that people could attend no matter where in the world that they were. And we also professionally video record all of our workshops when we're in person. I mean, we don't really need professional when we're on Zoom, but when we're live, they're professionally video recorded, and that is so that they're an option for you to see them even if you can't attend live. So as of now, we have 200 archived workshops on our website, or over 200, and every month we add 3 or 4 more. So that's continuing to grow, at least. We have a number of certifications. I know you're interested in AASECT, so I'm going to just go through it very quickly so that we can get to that point. But the sex therapy certification, couples and sex therapy certification, LGBTQIA affirmative therapy certification, alternative relationship certification, transgender affirmative mental health care certification, medical sexology certification, sex counselor certification, and sex educator certification. So just so you know, right, while AASECT is really important for a lot of people, it's the only, it's the biggest certifying body, in our country, and some internationally, but we don't do a lot of, AASECT doesn't do a lot of international certifications anymore. But while that being said, you don't have to go that route. So we actually also do certifications, as you can see from the number that we do, including sex therapy. But for most people, AASECT is very important to them. They want to do it, and we certainly encourage it and meet all of the requirements for that. So very briefly, again, and I'm even happy to send this PowerPoint to you if you'd like. You can reach out to me. But the requirements for all of the different programs that we offer, I'll stick with the sex therapy one and the sex counselor and educator one, since we're talking about AASECT. So for sex therapy, 150 hours of education. We're going to go into more detail. 50 hours of clinical case supervision and a minimum of a 10-hour sexual attitude reassessment. And I'll go into more detail on these. Sex counselor, same requirements except for the supervision. You're required to have 25 hours. And sex educator certification, again, the exact same in terms of requirements, but 30 hours of case supervision. So we are, like I said, APA, AASECT, and NBCC approved. So we are about to submit our ASWB one as well. So essentially, no matter where you are, this will also, our CEs will also count for your license. So it's nice to be able to double dip, not have to spend that money again. If you look on our website, if you want to know about your state in particular, we do have a drop down that shows where our CEs are approved and where you might need to present more information. The hardest one is really, the one that really is the issue is the social work. So even with ASWB, there will be states that won't accept them, so that they have to be state approved. So go ahead and look at that. That information is available on our website. We offer flexible payment options because we know it's an expensive thing for people to do. So we give you the option to pay either upfront and save money. We offer a discount when you do that, over 12 months, over 18 months, and that's what we offer on the website. But I am always open to, you know, if that doesn't work and you need to extend it a little bit, I will create a custom plan for you. We bring all of the world-renowned experts to do workshops with us. I mean, we have Bear McCarthy, we have Doug Ron Harvey has done a number of things with us. You know, Michael Aaron, of course, Ricky and Joe are part of this. But everybody that we bring on is somebody who is well known in their specific topic that they're teaching about. That's something that's very important to us. For our workshops, we do them typically on weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, half a Sunday. You can pick and choose what days work for you. We professionally video record them, and everything is available, you know, on our learning management platform, that one of our learning management platforms universities around the country use for actual degree programs. So it's great. So what is AASECT? The American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists. It's a membership organization and a certifying body. So certification is important, and it's because it establishes you as an expert in the field, it gives you credibility, and it allows you to ethically treat sexual concerns. Do you need to be certified? No, you don't need to be certified. You can just take courses that help you gain competency. And, you know, for me, what I always tell therapists is you have to at least be sexually informed, right? You have to be sexually competent, because, you know, almost everybody who walks in your office is going to have something going on, whether it's having to do with gender, sexual orientation, anatomy, physiology, sexual behavior, sexual functioning, right? Everyone who walks in our office, for the most part, is going to have gone through menstruation, right? So we should be knowledgeable at least. Florida happens to be, where Ricky and I live, the only state that requires you to be certified to hang a shingle in practice. So everybody else who chooses to do that chooses to do it because it's important to them. But this is why we think it is important. So for the sex therapy certification, the requirements begin with, you have to have a master's degree plus 2 years of post-degree clinical experience, or a doctoral degree plus 1 year of post-degree clinical experience, and a valid state license. Now, in one of these, you know, disciplines below, psychology, medicine, social work, counseling, nursing, or marriage and family therapy. That being said, a lot of people do start the program before they're licensed. So you can certainly be a student and start the program. And what is really cool about that is you get your license, and voila, you're also going to get you certified at the same time. So it's you know, if you haven't graduated, that's okay too. So you can accrue education and supervision before. Obviously, for supervision, you have to be seeing clients. So if you're on internship or doing a practicum, then it works. You have to be supervised by an AASECT certified supervisor. So myself, Ricky, and Joe, all three of us co-directors, are AASECT certified supervisors. We also have 2 new supervisors that we just brought on. to work with us. And I think there's a couple benefits to our program in that, one, a lot of people do half their hours with one, half their hours with the other. Some do a little bit with each supervisor. This way you get different, different types of supervision. But a lot of people choose to stay with somebody because we all kind of approach supervision and clients differently. So we're all very different. And so for somebody who maybe is more dynamic and family systems oriented like I am, I might be the right choice for you, right? But it depends on how you approach it, because Ricky, I think you're more sort of sex therapist first, CBT oriented. Joe does a lot of work with LGBTQIA population, and his background's in social work. So, for some people, one of us is really the best fit. For others, they really want to try multiple supervisors out, and we can give you that experience all within Modern Sex Therapy Institutes. So, and we'll go into the benefits too. So requirements, again, 90 hours of core knowledge education, 75 of which can be online asynchronously. The remainder can be now, because due to COVID especially, online but synchronous. 60 hours of sex therapy training, 30 of which can be online asynchronously, and the rest do have to be synchronous. 50 hours of supervision, minimum of a 10-hour SAR, and you have to be an AASECT member. So from the time you start your supervision, you have to be able to prove that you're an AASECT member that whole time.
Rachel, if I may just underscore how proud we are to be able to offer that supervision, because there are a number of certification training programs where folks complete their educational requirements and then first have to go out searching for a supervisor and paying additionally. So we're proud of the fact that we, as we say, when you're done, you're done. We really cover all the requirements.
And so, and I like to say also that we're a one-stop shop, for a lot of other programs that exist, even the, really good ones, University of Michigan, which is an incredible program for education, right? You don't get everything in one place. With us, you get all of your educational hours, all of your supervision hours, you get your SAR, and we help you, we fill out the education portion of your application. We help you with the rest of the application. Ricky is the application guru who goes through it with I don't remember even the last time, and this is going back years, that, knock on something, that we had an application returned, which I promise you probably happens in 75% of cases. Not because there's really something wrong, but that something isn't written correctly, or they have questions about something, and then it's postponed another month, or another, with COVID, God knows, like another 6 to 8 weeks. So, we're really lucky that we're able to do that for everybody. So core knowledge areas, and this is on the AASECT website. And again, I'm happy to share this PowerPoint. I don't think it's, I don't think you guys want me going through every area, but I just wanted to show you what that looks like. And what we do with our students is we have two options for you. We have what we call a course tracker, because AASECT has all of these areas that you have to have a minimum of 3 hours in each area. Then you can do what you'd like with the rest, but can't have more than 20 in one area, right? So some people are like, I don't want choices. I don't want to have to go through that. It's confusing. You pick my courses. So I pick your courses and I put them in your learning management portal, and you just go about your business and take them when you want. Other people really enjoy being able to have the variety that we have, and that's one of the benefits. I think almost every category has a minimum, I think, of 3 different options of classes in it. We have some categories with 15, right? And they range anywhere from 2 hours to 16 hours, of course. So, you can go through and say like, oh, I'm interested in bisexuality. I'm interested in integrative couples and sex therapy. I'm interested in sexual fantasy. I'm interested in medical factors. I want these courses. And then you get to keep track of how many, it adds them up for you, like automatically. So you know how many hours you completed. So, and that's even something that you can look on our website and see our courses. But if you wanted to see our course tracker, I'll email you our course tracker, like not a big deal. So before, like as not a student. So obviously if you're a student, we give it to you. So, it's really nice to be able to have that variety, that flexibility. And like Ricky, said, is that when you're done, you're done. There's nothing else hidden that you have to do when you leave here. We're going to complete all your requirements. That being said, you could choose to just do the education with us. Some people are like, I have this supervisor. I love this supervisor. I want to stay with this supervisor. I encourage you to stay with that supervisor. then do the education with us. So it's totally up to you. Again, I like to give people as many options as possible. Core knowledge areas, again, I already kind of went over that with you. Sex therapy training, here are the areas very briefly. Sexual attitude reassessment. A lot of people ask me, what is a SAR? So you need a minimum of 10 hours of a SAR. We do them usually twice a year. We have one coming up in November. We were the very first ones to do an online SAR, and actually the president of AASECT attended. I think she was like curious, like, should we continue this as allowed? Like, wanted to see what it worked like, and gave glowing reviews. Said that it was fantastic. So we kind of started that in May, as soon as they said that we were allowed to do it. But it is an experiential and structured group experience. It is process-oriented exploration of the applicant's own feelings, attitudes, values, and beliefs regarding human sexuality and sexual behavior. And it has to be AASECT approved because only certain people are able to do that.
As I like to say, the SAR is the only training we go to where we're expected to take our professional hat off and just go in as a person and really reflect with how this wide variety of sexuality bounces off us. Sometimes we may not have thought of, and ideally not in front of a client in the therapy room.
Awesome. So then you're going to complete a minimum of providing 300 hours under our supervision or a AASECT supervisor, clinical treatment of patients who present with sexual concerns. So you're going to complete 50 hours of supervision in a minimum of 18 months. So what I say is that with our students or participants, it averages at about 2.5 hours a month that you want to do. And again, I kind of went over the rest of this. And I cannot believe that on our first thing, I left something very important out, is that we also are a licensed school. And so we provide also a PhD in clinical sexology. And for those that are interested, you meet all of your AASECT requirements while in that program. So it's like, you just sort of like, ooh, 18 months later, you've met all your requirements, but it is, you also then 6 months later can get your PhD. So, oh wow, it's a big picture of me. So 3 of us are your supervisors, again, varying expertise in theoretical orientation. Sex counselor requirements, very similar to sex therapy requirements. But for this one, you can have a bachelor's degree plus 3 years of professional counseling experience. So you still need to have some experience doing counseling because we're going to have to supervise you. But if you're not a licensed therapist, this is a great way to go. Again, the education is almost identical. And the supervision is the only thing that's a little bit different. In this, rather than 50, you need 30 hours. And again, usually people do half and half. You need a minimum of providing 100 hours of supervised sexuality counseling. For some people, they ask like where you can do that. So it's a variety of settings: medical offices and clinics, human services agencies, community and public health clinics, family planning centers, rape crisis centers, college, universities, schools. These are all options.
If I may also add, the types of clinicians that generally go for sexuality counselor certification rather than therapist are physicians, nurse practitioners, pelvic floor physical therapists, other health professionals. And
this is stuff we already went over just a little bit more simply put. For the sexuality educator certification, again, the requirements are different. You can see them here: a bachelor's degree plus 4 years of professional experience, and minimum number of hours is in every criteria. Or if you do have a master's or a doctorate, then you'll need less in terms of minimum criteria. Our partner in the sexuality educator certification program is Dr. Logan Lepkoff. I don't know if you know of her, but she's very well known. She does a lot of stuff on the media. She was one of the experts on Married at First Sight. If you ever watch that show, she's written a number of books, often appears on national media. So she's fantastic. She is our partner in that program. She's a primary our primary supervisor for that program, although we have others as well. And so this is a great program. Again, similar hour number requirements. What's different is obviously the content, and the 60 hours of training is more about how to carry out sexuality education, curriculum development, etc., and 30 hours of supervision. So again, these are the specific areas which you can see if I send you the PowerPoint or even on the AASECT website. And a minimum of 100 hours of supervised sexuality education. You can do that at a college or university, public school, professional school, community or public health clinic. So, just to kind of recap, we have a number of different options and programs. We are all on, you can do our program all online if you'd like. You can do a hybrid, online and in person. You can come all in person if you're interested. We welcome whatever is best for you. That's the goal of this, to do what is good for you. All courses, again, professionally recorded and on our learning management system. So I'm going to stop my share now. And good, I did this in the time I wanted to. And I'd love for those of you who are open to it to share your screens and your videos. And please ask away if you have any questions for us. This is, like I said, it's sometimes a difficult process to navigate. And I like to say that we like to hold your hand through it because I don't want you to have to figure it out yourself.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. I just heard about this institute and was curious about how you can get a PhD in 2 years.
Yeah, so it's for already licensed professionals or license eligible. So this is not a licensable degree. So you're not going to become, like, I'm a psychologist, right? That's a 5-year program. You're not going to become a psychologist. You are going to always be licensed as you currently are, or if someone's in school, that's fine too. But when they graduate, they must be licensed. And so it's a year of education and a year of dissertation. So essentially it's 5 years because you've gone through your 3 years. We're just letting all of that count, like most universities don't.
So that's what my PhD is, and I did it in another. With Ricky at another place. We did it for 2 years. It was 9 months of programming, and then you do your dissertation. And it was important to me. I always wanted my PhD. I'm not really going to be able to teach at a university. That wasn't my goal. But on my books and on my seminars, and when people refer to me, I like having the PhD.
But many people do, just for those of you that are interested in teaching. I mean, Ricky teaches at several universities. So his PhD is from the same place Joe's is. So, I mean, would this PhD make you able to teach at Harvard? I don't know. But, certainly people that have graduated with this degree do teach at universities. Just can't get.
I just want to add that it's not like the dissertation has to be completed in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
We encourage people. We like people to be able to finish on, in the time frame they want. But if and we have the option of a dissertation. That's a research study, IRB approved, publishable, et cetera, that we, support you in, or a doctoral project for those of you that scares off a little bit. And I know a lot of people it does. Whether it's creating a curriculum, writing a book, a type of treatment, those are options as well.
And so, but the coursework in terms of classes, is that the same as like the sex therapy certification?
It is.
It is. Okay.
Well, except the research class, we have an extra research class. That's it.
Okay.
It's the exact same amount of hours.
And that can be done online as well?
So the PhD, that's where it is a little bit different, right? Where AASECT, you can do a majority of your hours asynchronously. The PhD you can do online, but it has to, you're there synchronously. So it's 1 weekend a month that you're there.
Okay.
In the same interactive live face-to-face online.
Just like this with a speaker or teacher or professor.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions about AASECT, about supervision, about any of us? Yeah.
I'm curious how your admissions process works. What kind of timeline you have when your programs start, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're actually, for the certification programs, it's all rolling. So you send me, that you're interested, you ask me any questions, I tell you what I need from you to get us under contract for the supervision that AASECT requires. You make your initial payment and I send you your login. So it's a very quick process. you know, one of the good and the less good things I think about me is that I'm almost always available. So you text me, call me, email me, and I will likely get back to you within 5 minutes. If I don't, that means I'm with a client, and so it'll be 50 minutes. And so working on that, probably not the best thing for my mental health, but you know, that's just the way I am. And so, yeah, so that's rolling admission all year long. PhD, I think right now we have 3 times you can enroll. So we're just finishing enrollment now, or you can still enroll for the fall. January is the next start date, and then May. However, we're working on getting the changes we want recognized by the by the licensing body, so that you can admit on the 1st of every month. Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering if AASECT certifies Canadians, because it seems like a lot of sex therapy information in Canada points to AASECT or another organization in Ontario, but that one seems to have much less of an education or web presence. So, and I'm in an unregulated kind of province. So
Yeah, sure.
I've been looking to the States for
Yes.
actually a little bit of my training.
Those
So.
certify clinicians in Canada. There is a strong contingent. Another sister sexological organization called STAR, the Society for Sex Therapy and Research. So they're not a certifying body like AASECT, but they're AASECT certified. The only international students, if I'm remembering correctly, are Canada, Israel, and well, it used to be India, but yeah, but Canada does certify. AASECT does certify clinicians in Canada.
And again, for anybody who's on here that is not from one of the areas that AASECT now, you know, that they changed and they don't certify people in, we still do.
And is there a cost difference between people looking for the certification versus taking coursework only?
Yeah, sure. So yes, absolutely. So, and you can see on our website, I guess that would have been a good thing for me to include, my apologies. But if you look on our website, we actually break everything down. We have 3 options, right? We have the ability to do education only and a price for that, and then a breakdown of if you pay over a year, you know, or 18 months. We have that you can do all 150 hours of education and 50 hours of supervision, what that cost would be. And then we have that option plus the STAR, which is then everything you need for certification, and a price for that.
Is it okay if I ask one more question?
Oh, you can ask as many as you like.
Is it okay to ask about some of the other certifications other than sex therapy?
Yeah, does anybody, let's make sure, does anyone else have questions about sex therapy specifically, or is that okay? Okay, let me just answer all the questions about sex therapy and then we'll come right back. Yes.
And mine's kind of more about the supervision portion. So you mentioned that there's 5 now supervisors available. So if we were to run into a scenario where, you know, we found someone who's like more local that we could meet with in person, that kind of thing, do we have the option, like if I started supervision with one of you guys and then decided, well, there's someone here that I'd like to do I have the option to transition out?
Absolutely. If you wanted to, so we, obviously the payment plan would change, so we just have to review that. But again, that's totally an option. If you choose to switch and that works better for you, you can just do the education from us. So okay. It's definitely an option. I will say, like, when we package our stuff, so the what we charge for continuing education and supervision, if they're piecemeal, is more than when we put them together. So for instance, like, you know, I can't remember if it's 75 or 100, but what we kind of factor in when we do the package. But like supervision, you know, if I do it individually and it's just like, you know, not part of this package, I charge $250, right? Because that's what I charge for clients. So we give a significant discount when you do the thing. So you might find a supervisor that charges $50, which is awesome, right? And you really like that person. So definitely an option. We're flexible. We're easy.
Okay. And then another thing that kind of ties in is, I think you kind of already answered this, but I just want to make sure that on all of the like education requirements, there's variety of presenters and perspectives and everything like that within the education, correct?
Yes, there is. So, and you can actually, if you want to go through and just see some of our speakers, or I can send you some info, like we really do try hard to make sure that we have a good representative of, you know, different areas, that we have different people with different theories to talk about treatment, that, you know, we bring in the best and most relevant research, and that we have people that are able to teach about that. So, and when things are missing, which there are times where people are wanting different, our students mention it to us, and literally, I think the last time somebody mentioned something, the next month I got a speaker that would, you know, could present on that. So
we often bemoan the fact that you know, why aren't all therapists sex therapists, and why are there so, you know, there's, I think, more therapists in my South Florida area than there are sex therapists in the entire country. But the benefit of that is it's kind of a small pool, and we have access to, you know, it's really an amazing thing to sit in conferences next to people whose books you've studied and learned from and trained. And, you know, after you get past the starry-eyed fan thing, you say, hey, could you teach a class for us? You know, so it's really, it's a wonderful advantage.
And we also, you know, all three of us are pretty close friends with a lot of those people at this point. So, you know, we're very lucky to be able to have access. So Potter, Lori Brado, Lori Mintz is coming, you know, teaching a course who wrote Becoming Cliterate. So we're very lucky in that way. So more questions about sex therapy before we take about our other program. Yeah.
So I'm more of the logical and matter-of-fact type person, and I pulled up your website the minute you mentioned it, and I'm looking at things and crunching numbers, and I just want to make sure, since this is still recording, but I'm still in graduate school, so I'm doing my internship, so I know I cannot, you know, I can get all of the stuff while I'm finishing graduate school, but I can't apply for certification until after I am licensed, and then I can present my paperwork and say, bam. But just looking at the big ticket price, the numbers aren't making sense to me, because like an average supervision is $150 an hour, and when you take that times 50, you're at $7,500, and the entire thing is $8,850. That's a ridiculously good deal in the grand scheme of things.
Yep. So
okay,
Brought this up.
we try to be affordable. Like I said, it's very different than if you piecemealed it. Like if you went on our website, some people are like, we're just going to buy the courses as they come. And then they're like, well, shoot, we ended up buying 120. Why didn't we? And I'm like, you know, I obviously at that point I try to help people. They bought a lot of our courses, you know, but like, that's why I try to tell people up front, like, you know, doing this for as many years as we have, like, we know what people come back to us with. Like the people that contact me and they're like, okay, ask all these questions, and then they don't get started. And then 6 months later, they're like, oh, AASECT has a minimum of 18 months. Why didn't I start then? You know, like we know what people say. So yes, you're right. We give a discount for somebody because that's a lot of money still for certification. But
I agree.
There are a lot of requirements, you know, the 150 hours again.
Okay, so there are very few certified sex therapists in Washington State, and that's one of the reasons that it's very interesting. We might be up to like 20 by now, because last year at a conference we were only at 17. But I just am shocked. But one of the things that surprised me is AASECT is saying all online training because of COVID, but when COVID is over, that we may have to go back to in-person. Do you guys have some exception to that?
Yeah, so no, so I'll say a couple things. Number one, so we have like a good year. So in other words, if any of you started right now, your in-person requirements would count. So we have until May essentially to, like, even if they change them back, we have until then, and it will count. So they have to count it because they've allowed it, right?
So we can do it in reverse order.
Yep,
okay.
That being said, because this is going so well and so many of the board members are attending to see, right, there is a good chance that they're going to modify that requirement once this is over, as a lot of places are modifying things, right? So there's a good chance, I can't guarantee it, I'm not on the board anymore, but there's a good chance they're going to modify that. But if you start relatively soon, you can knock out a couple weekends live via webinar and we're good.
Okay, and then you guys are not opposed to somebody who's still in graduate school?
No, we have a lot of people in graduate school. We love it.
Okay.
We literally have your application ready, so the day you get your license, you email it, you know?
Thank you.
I had a quick question about clinical contact hours. and how you get those. Just because, I'm working with couples, but they're not necessarily designated as sex therapy cases, but we're certainly talking about lots of sex problems. So I'm just curious how you all help the students get the 300 clinical contact hours
Sure.
needed.
So in a variety of ways. So one thing is that, when people, say, like you actually said, we're talking about sexual things. A lot of people will say, like, I work at this place and, we don't talk about sexual issues, or no one comes in with a sexual problem. And we talk to you about like how to conduct, like, as part of your, like, whatever your intake or biopsychosocial, like we want you to be including a sexual history too. And I can almost guarantee you that virtually every case, something related to the sexuality umbrella will come up. So we can help you approach that if the client's wanting to work on that, right? In addition, we help you with advertising so that you can start attracting a different kinds of clients as well. One of the other things that I do is I help people build practices. So I can help you sort of with how to bring in that type of client and increase your caseload in that way.
Thank you.
But I would add, if you're doing couples counseling and talking about sex,
Yeah.
you're in effect doing sex therapy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
So I logically, when I think of this, I think like, okay, you need to do all of your education stuff first before you start saying like, hey, I can see clients, like sex therapy related clients. Obviously I know that's not the way it has to be, but that's how I logically see it. So when it comes to kind of, I guess, advertising yourself, because I work at a private practice now, and so we can already do some advertising for me to bring that clientele in, but I want to make sure that I'm doing it in a way that's not misleading or acting as if, oh, I have all this experience.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, everybody's a little bit different, right? You're going to be under our supervision. We're going to talk it through with you. Some people we talk to before they see a client, right? Go over sort of the good questions to ask, etc. But yeah, you certainly have that choice. Again, the video recordings will be available to you like, right away. So you can go through and I can tell you which courses are important that you'll want to get started with. But inevitably, things are going to come up that maybe you don't have as much on. And we'll talk to you about how to explore that with a client, and then we'll do supervision so that you feel a little bit more confident.
Okay.
But wait, I think you were talking also about advertising yourself, and you can say
yeah.
that you provide sex therapy. You can't say that you're a certified sex therapist, but you
Okay.
can say that you're providing sex therapy, right? Isn't that what AASECT says? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to go back. I know, Sandra, you had questions about other certifications, so I want to give you a chance to ask that. Are you still here?
Yeah, I sure am. And I actually did have, I came up with one more sex therapy certification question, which was, is it possible to start with the education only and change your mind to do certification during or after, and then come back for the supervision part? I'm just trying to work out, like, as the other person said, about crunching numbers and
Sure.
and exchange rates and all that good stuff.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, we, honestly, yes, you can 100% do that. I will say again, from a lot of experience and knowing like what, participants want, like my recommendation for that would be, right, and it would still shorten it, is for you to say, hey, Rachel, I need a 24-month plan, or I need a 36-month plan because I want to do this. At least you then get started, you spread it out, and then if something changes and you can pay more, you can finish earlier. If you can't, at least you don't have that extra 18 months added on. We have your contract signed on the date ready, so that if you decided to submit early. So that's just, again, we are flexible. You can do it your way. I just like to support you in what I know a lot of goals for our participants are, and that would be what I would suggest.
Great, thank you. That also gives a lot of information about the payment plans and stuff like that too. I was wondering, just because of course I saw that there is a new trans affirmative mental health care certification, and there's also an LGBTQIA affirmative therapy certification. And I was wondering if someone could talk about the differences and similarities between the two certifications, just super quickly, of, you know, is the one beefier and includes more identities, or is the other the equal amount of information, just more targeted towards trans experience? Or
So I'll speak a little to it, and then I'll let Joe, because Joe designed the LGBTQIA affirmative therapy certification. The transgender affirmative mental health care certification. Our partners in that are Margie Nichols, I don't know if you know her, and Arlene Lev, who are both, you know, specialists and experts in that area. They, you know, designed the curriculum for that, and it is very targeted, right? Trans-specific. It is taught by almost all trans-identifying, you know, people. That was really important to us, and it is more targeted, you know, specifically on that population, including, you know, obviously sexual orientation as well, but more specific to identity throughout. And Joe, if you want to speak to the other program.
Right, so the LGBTQIA, we do talk about trans issues, but more in the, it's a lighter version than that's why we started this other certification program. So we're talking more about, you know, lesbian issues, bisexual issues, sexual fluidity, teens, suicidality, that kind of thing. So it's more all the letters where, yeah. Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, good question.
Any other questions? Yeah.
So if you are interested in one of those tracks, like let's say the trans track, but also interested in the sex therapist track, would that just change the coursework or make it take longer, or how does that work?
So wouldn't necessarily make it take longer. We can combine programs, again, because we have different partners in them, and because AASECT only allows a certain amount in each category, right? We can certainly overlap them. Not a problem at all. It'll cut down on costs for sure. So it won't be the amount plus the amount. It will give you a significant reduction, and we can combine, but it will, for the specific certification programs rather than the general sex therapy one, there are going to be a little bit more in terms of requirements because they're all in a specific topic.
Can I ask a question about, is it possible to talk to alumni? Like, I'm really interested in the PhD program / the sex therapy certificate program. Just would love to talk to people who've gone through it or are going through it.
Absolutely, and I can, if you email me, and I have two emails. You can either send it to Rachel at Modern Sex Therapy Institutes, there's an S on the end.com, or just drrachelneedle@gmail.com. Totally up to you. I can put that here. I'll put that in here.
Cool. Thank you.
And yes, I'm
And
sure.
we have plenty of alumni that have spoken to people and are happy to do so. We have current PhD students that can talk to you, and we have current PhD students who also did their certification with us.
And one more question about the PhD. Is it a cohort model? Are you going through it as a group?
So right now it is, in the sense that there's 3 times you can enter. So we're going on our 3rd cohort, actually starting in a little less than 2 weeks. And you still have time to get your application in if you're interested. So we have 3 cohorts right now. That being said, some people have, if they're already AASECT certified, they have a little bit less time. But our students are like loving, like they have I don't know if you know what Discord is, it's like a group chat. They have 4 different Discord things going where they talk all day about different topics. They are doing happy hours where they do Zooms together. Like, people are really enjoying that camaraderie. Now, I'm sure there are some people that don't do it, and that's totally up to them. But if you want that, that is definitely happening. Yeah.
I'm a limited licensed psychologist, but I'm not currently in private practice. I have like a desk job in communications. So I'm interested in getting back into private practice, but I'm wondering like which should come first if I'm interested in the certification or the PhD. Should I get back into private practice first and then get in contact, or does it really kind of do the education first?
It doesn't matter. Like, you can start and you can do them simultaneously. Like I said, I'm happy to help you with private practice. Ricky has a great private practice. Joe and I both have good private practices, and we both run large groups. So we're familiar with helping people kind of get started with that. So we can help you. So totally personal preference. Again, I'm always a fan of, if you think you want to do it, you know, just, you know, start, you know, like otherwise it'll take longer than you want it to. Yeah.
Um, in the presentation, I remember hearing 25 years worth of experience. How long has MSTI been around?
So I'll answer that at a little bit longer of a question. I started what's called the Advanced Mental Health Training Institute, which still exists but doesn't do sex certification anymore, in 2009. Ricky started working with what was called postgraduate, sorry,
Sex therapy training, the most generic name ever, the Florida Postgraduate Sex Therapy Training Institute.
that one in what, 2000-ish?
Dr. Lee started that in 1994. I joined her about 2000.
Okay, so from 2000, Ricky and I, about 6-ish years ago, merged the two. We each got rid of what for sex specifically, merged 6 or 7 years ago, I can't remember at this point, and made Modern Sex Therapy Institutes then. So again, he's been doing it since 2000, education, that I've been doing it since 2009. We just started doing it together about 2014-ish. And Joe's, you do Joe does workshops all over the world, and so, but didn't have a training program. He joined us and ours 2 years ago.
Right.
You were also faculty at a couple of others, weren't you?
Yep. But I always I was always impressed, and I still am impressed with the fact that when you come through us, you're done. I always said when you go to MSTI, you don't have to do additional supervision. And I love, Georgia, I wish we could use you as a commercial. You were crunching the numbers. That was the best way to say, because I'm always saying to those two, that's the biggest thing is, because I spent $5,000 on supervision when I was going through this. It was a lot of money. In addition,
And part of the problem is
your profanity.
part of the problem is we don't know what we don't know, and then we find it out after we find out because we signed a contract or we were trying to do the right thing. And bless AASECT's heart, their website is very challenging and getting answers is really hard. And on the flip side, I don't know what I don't know, and you guys are a lovely commercial. So, I have gone to a different commercial and, met just lovely people, but looking at education only over here and then education and supervision over here. And it's like, okay, I do know what I do know here, and this is making sense. And I'm a grad student, so you can send me a small stipend and I'll be your advertisement for the
and that's the thing, we really are transparent. And here's the thing, we have a lot of students, we've been doing this a long time, it is really important to us that people get quality education and that you get what you need. So if we are not the best fit for you, we'll be honest. I'm a huge fan of ours because I was part of creating it that way, where I knew what I needed and wanted, and so that's what we did. Then we knew what students and participants were telling us was missing or questions they asked, and we incorporated,
The only other thing I'd want to add is when we do the Michigan classes, Rachel likes to do it in the middle of winter. So she likes to come down around February.
Made the mistake once, not doing it again.
I wasn't, I live here, so I wasn't even thinking about her being a Florida woman, right? And then coming down here.
Do you want to do January or May?
I wanted to go to the Igloo restaurant. She was like, I'm out.
Florida girl. My hands were bleeding. So anyway, but if there's no other questions, and I'm happy to stay along, please take my email, contact me. You can, call or text me anytime here. I'll even put my number in here, and I'd love to continue the conversation. Again, if you send anything you need, we're happy to meet.
On the AASECT listserv or receiving any of the emails, quite often you'll see things from other people. So it's really easy to get a good idea without having to ask any direct questions or worry about offending anybody.
Yeah, thank you. And we have our Modern Sex Therapy Institute's page, not the group. We don't use the group on Facebook if you're on it, and on Instagram. Sex positive therapists, counselors, educators, and healthcare professionals. And, on Facebook, and that picture is like a heart with different sexuality terms in it. So please feel free to like that, to go to our page, to text, email, call, whatever you need to do. So thank you for being here, everybody. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks to everyone, and hope to hear from you soon.